Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. Well, Piston fans, we lost a disappointing game tonight, maybe one of the more disappointing losses of the year, 119 to 108 to the struggling Chicago Bulls. We beat them earlier this year. They had lost 4 of their last 5, and we could not score. So today we're going to talk about we need to change. Our starting lineup needs to change. We need, what do we have to lose? We lost 8 in a row. We're, not having a good season. So, again, injuries have been a big part, but we're also going to talk about Cade Cunningham and what excuses can be made for him are legit and what aren't, and what needs to be done. If you watch the game, we're going to really dive into that. We're going to talk more about Ivey. He came back from the virus. He had missed a bunch of games, and he played 11 minutes tonight. And what the lineup is going to be going forward, it is really, really going to get complicated by the minute. It's going to get even more complicated. So we're going to talk about that also. So let's start out with changing the starting lineup. Our starting lineup has been atrocious. We start these games all the time where we score like 8 points in the first 8 minutes of the first quarter, and then sometimes we, catch fire and we sub in and then we start playing better. But our starting lineup has struggled, and their plus minus is not good. And part of that is because they're playing against the other team starters. But our bench did good, scored 51 points tonight. And now that we have Burks back, he was really impressive tonight. And we're going to obviously talk about Kevin Knox. He played good, but we have to make a change. There's just things aren't clicking, and Big excuse for our team is Jalen Duren. Duren changes the whole game, and he has not been the same since, he hurt his ankle a long time ago. And, 8 games ago, he hurt his ankle, and then he missed a game, but he's never been the same. Well, I definitely think, as hard as it is, we need to rest him. We need to let him get 100%. We are not. Like I said, we're not going to win the playoffs. I think we can have some really good stretches this year. I think we can turn things in and win some games. And I think that we can certainly play much better than we did. But we have to figure things out, and it's time to start experimenting with changing the starting lineup. But, of course, like I said, with Duren not there, he is a real important player on our team. He is arguably our second-best player. And I guess Asora's stepping up, but I still think that Duren is really a key player to our team and our team going forward. But whatever he does, start Burks, start Sasser, start anybody. But we need to mix things up and try different things. So now we're going to talk about Cade, and Cade has not had the year. We got so fired up watching him play against the USA team, and we got fired up even watching Rico Hines, and he was just tearing it up and looking good. He shot good from the 3 in the preseason. He started the season shooting the 3 really well, and he has just taken a nosedive the last 3 or 4 games. His 3-point shot has been just awful, worse than ever. And so that's something that's in his head. Again, his shot has improved, his form has improved, but that's on him. And just like a lot of his turnovers are on him, and certainly there is a space problem that causes him problems for making passes. So if you watch tonight's game, every time now, he used to be able to get to his spots. Cade could get to his spots. That was always said about him. Everybody that talked about him, even from the summer and whatever, he can just get to his spots. Well, there are no spots to get to when you're on a team where nobody's a threat to score and you don't have to guard people. Even Stu is shooting great from 3, but nobody guards him, and so there's no space. And when he comes off, when somebody does a pick and roll with him, 2 guys stay on him, and then there's a 3rd guy waiting. Greg Kelser made a great demonstration today on the telestrator showing how every time Cade had the ball, there were 3 players lined up building a wall. They do the same thing with Giannis. I haven't noticed they do it as much with Luka, but I guess they should. But anyway, there's no space for him to drive, and he needs to find somebody to pass. Tonight, they ended up without Duren in there. They went small, and they had Stu play the center position, but Stu is not a lob threat. Stu has proven that he can't hardly jump up over the rim. Today we had a 2-on-1 break, and someone lobbed it and he couldn't get it. It was a perfect lob pass, but he doesn't have great hands either. And again, he's played great. He's exceeded my expectations for him. So but that was good that Kelser showed that breakdown. But even you watch it every time he comes off the pick and roll. And then those other teams played zone against him. So there was 2 people on front and then 2 more people waiting for him. So teams are just loading up. He started out good, and now it's, it gets in your head. It's just like, again, when I coached in high school, we would play box and one on great players, and we would, just to shut them down, and they would get frustrated. Not only, so it was so hard for them to get the ball and get a shot. And then when they finally did, it was in their head. They were like desperate to finally score. And so anyway, I do think that it's not an excuse for Cade to say that, well, he hasn't played since last, he missed all those games last year. And, it is something, but by now he's played all summer. He played for the select team. He played at Rico Hines. Those are against NBA players. He's played with Piston players, in the facility all fall. And then he had preseason, and then he's had, 11 regular season games now. And so there's, it's not an excuse. There's no rust to be shaken off. I don't buy that excuse, but I do buy no spacing, that he's being doubled, and that there's no people that are threats to score. So everybody they have 5 guys in the paint. Cade's driving the ball. They'll put one guy, whoever has the ball, that person's man will jump out. But everybody else is, even when they're not playing zone, they are just loading up on him. So that's just a real thing, and it's not going to get changed until the lineup gets changed. And we got some players coming back, hopefully sooner than later. We haven't heard much. Again, I get so disappointed about the Pistons and how much they let us know about injuries and updates on injuries. And I'd heard that Monty Morris was progressing really well, but we haven't heard any more from them in a long time about him. And so, but when he does come back, what the heck's going to happen? So like tonight, Ivey only played 11 minutes. Burks played 21, and Burks, it bothered me last year that Burks was so great and he only played 21 minutes, and Sasser played 20, and Sasser's earned a chance. And even what he did tonight was helpful. Killian got his minutes cut tonight down to 25, and he's been playing, arguably better than he's played most of his career. So Monty, in a interview just, I think today or yesterday, he did say that there's going to be some problems. It's going to be hard when we start getting players back, that, deciding how many minutes are going to be. There's going to be just some tough decisions, he said. So, again, I talked a lot about Ivey. Everybody's talked a lot about Ivey, but I'm going to talk about him again a little bit now. But I always try to put myself in other people's shoes, coaches' shoes, people's shoes, just anybody that I deal with in my life. I try to think, because they have a different perspective and things, aren't easy. But if you could put yourself in Jaden Ivey's shoes, and again, by all accounts, he is the hardest worker. He puts in more time than anybody. Everybody's loved his attitude and stuff. And I had one of my listeners communicate on the message board that left a comment about how he's known Ivey since he was playing AAU, and he helped coach him, and he has played on his son's team, and what a great kid he is. He suggested that Ivey wasn't sick, that he was maybe sick of Monty, but sick, that he was frustrated and disappointed. And I think the last game he played was that game with the Pelicans, when he played so well and helped them come back, and then he sat the rest of the game. And you can't pout. You can't just quit, no matter how bad things are going. So I'm not excusing that and saying if that was the case, that was wrong. If he was pretending he was sick. It is curious that no one else on the team, a virus, you would think that, they're all around each other, that it might spread to some other people on the team. My thing is, though, at what point Ivey played great last year. He has played great this year. His percentages are phenomenal this year, and he can score, he can pass, but his defense isn't great. But how much do you lose on defense compared to how much do we lose on offense? And again, we've had those games where we have come down to the stretch and we can't score a point, and Ivey can score points. Ivey can get to the rim. Ivey can create for others. Ivey is a threat, and other people on our team, we have a lot of non-threats. Killian's really not a threat. Killian shot better, but he's still the second worst shooting percentage player on our team, even after he's had this hot streak. And, Asor, as fabulous he is, and he's just a crazy rebounder, he still is not a scoring threat. Stu has had, he's exceeded my expectations, but he's not really a scoring threat. And, tonight he had some chances. He bobbled some balls and lost some balls, and he's turning the ball over. He had 3 turnovers, and that's way too many for a guy. So if Cade has 6 turnovers, he's handling the ball, 10 times more than Stu is. So, you got to multiply those post players. Same with Duran, and Duran turns the ball over too much too. Compared, and Cade turns it over too much. But I'm just saying that, a post player that doesn't touch the ball very much, and he turns it over 3 times compared to the primary ball handler. And Cade has one of the highest usage rates in the whole league, and he has 6 turnovers. That's not near as bad as the 3 turnovers, but we just don't look at it that way, I don't think, a lot of times. So, but anyway, if I'm in Ivey's shoes and see how good I played, and then especially early in the year, like when Killian was playing awful, but my thing is, Monty's got to watch Ivey play all summer, and evaluate him and see what it is he has to work at. Ivey's been in the facility. All of our players have been in the facility with the coaches in September and August, even before you could officially practice, and they've got to talk to the players, and so they can see and know what they need to work on. Then we've had training camp, so they've got to work with Ivey in training camp, and maybe he is a slow learner, and maybe things are, he just doesn't instinctively do things that well, but still, and now we've had these games, and, coaching needs to take some responsibility. If a kid, unless a person, there are some people that just don't care about playing defense, but that's not the case. I still tell you, Ivey is playing hard on defense. Sometimes he's over pursuing. He's so hyperactive out there that he sometimes, gets himself out of position or can get blown by because he doesn't close out right because he's going after his man too aggressively. So I just think that that's, a concern, and I think that I'm not sure that psychologically how I would deal with it if I had the high hopes and had thought I earned a spot on the team and played so well as a rookie, and then now all of a sudden then you're 7th on the team in minutes played. That was before this last game and before he got sick even. So anyway, we need to change starters, but again, I got to stop here. I keep forgetting this. My brother's going to be mad because he always tells me. I am so thrilled with my listeners. Man, we had like 2,500 listeners on the last pod, but bigger yet, so many of you subscribed, and I had I don't know if I had 200 new subscribers almost just off the last episode, and I've been doing this for a year now. So that was huge, and thank you all so very much. Thank you for all the comments. I do my very best to answer every comment. So I want your opinion on what you think the starting lineup should be. I want your opinion on what you think about Cade and what excuses legitimately does he have for having no spacing. And he comes off those pick and rolls. It's like a double team right away. Sure, he needs to find the open man, but again, the other team, they help the helper. So when they double team Cade, somebody else's man is coming to take the roller. And so that the roller's not just wide open, and especially that, like I said, it's hard. So like I said, Stu's not really a lob threat because he can't get up. So we need Duran back, but we just need to wait. We just need to be patient, and however long it takes, and we just need to get our team back and then get everybody healthy, and then, or most of them healthy, and then see how we can do and win. And we need to develop our young players. So Asur and Ivey and Cade and Duran and Sasser, and if you think Killian's in one of those guys, all need to play, but it's going to be real hard because you don't win. So the Houston Rockets, they started out 0-3. They looked atrocious, and I thought, oh man, they added all those veterans. They spent all that money to get those free agents, but they've won 5 in a row. They beat the Nuggets tonight, and the Nuggets are considered arguably the best team, at least the best team in the West. So We can do that. We can have stretches, and that's what we need to do. We need to get our players better, and we need to find out and evaluate players and decide what are we going to do with Weissman? He's a restricted free agent. What are we going to do with Killian? He's a restricted free agent. And Burks, it looks like we want to keep him, but he does not, he's a free agent, unrestricted free agent at the end of this year. So, but leave your comments. Again, thank you so much for subscribing. And I know it's a click of the button, but people don't do it. Not just on my podcast, but people listen to other podcasts and they just, for whatever reason, they don't do that. So thank you very much. So another thing I wanted to talk about is the .5 offense. I get to hear it. I get to hear it over and over again. And Burks has played in it. A lot of teams play the .5 offense. Casey tried to play it, and I think it's just a little bit overblown. It is a great concept. Moving the ball, reversing the ball from side to side on the court, that creates offense. And so we need to do that better. But still, Cade dribbles a lot. Killian dribbles a lot. Sasser dribbles a lot. Burks tries to do things one-on-one. But I guess it's okay if you try to do it quickly. But I just think I've seen times when we moved the ball really quick and really fast and made 3 or 4 passes real fast, and we got a good shot, and that's great. And we need to do that, and it's a good concept. But to say that Monty's come in with this .5 offense and it's some magical thing, it has not been a magical thing. It has not been something that we've consistently done. So Marvin Bagley, we're going to go through the box score for tonight's game. And I love to look at the box score, because the box score, we could talk about things about players. There's a lot to be unraveled there. It's not everything, and a lot of things impact it. But Bagley played 23 minutes. Even without Duran, he only played 23 minutes, but he was 6 for 12. So that's still way better percentage. Our team shot 43%. Bagley shot 50%, and he can score. I love his demeanor on the court. He seems like he's always aggressive. He's always playing hard, and he's not a great defender, and he doesn't react to block shots that well. But he always draws fouls. He was only 2 for 2 tonight, but he had 6 rebounds in 23 minutes, which isn't bad. 14 points, so not bad for him. Asar, 2 for 9. So again, it's hard when you have players that are limited, even if their percentages, even if Killian's percentage goes up, and Stu's percentage has been really good. And even when Asar shoots good, people aren't guarding them. It's not. And then Cade is getting like triple teamed, and sure, he needs to kick it to people, but people don't worry about it. I mean, there's times when we kick it to people and they still don't shoot. So they'd rather live with someone else being wide open than Cade getting his chance to shoot. So anyway, he was 2 for 9, which is not good. It's not a good percentage. It's obviously less than 20%. Oh, no, it's a little bit more than 20%. I'm sorry. So do the math. So, but he was 5 for 7 from the line, which he is drawing fouls, and that's a significant thing. Even if your percentage is down, if you're drawing fouls, and especially if you're shooting a decent percentage, and he was 5 for 7, which is good. It's okay for him. 16 rebounds. He is unbelievable. That guy. I knew he rebounded in the summer league, and he had over 10 a game. And then when I watched him play in the exhibition season, preseason, he rebounded good. And I thought, well, this isn't going to, once he's out there all the time with Stu and Duran and Bagley and whoever and Cade, and there's not going to be that many rebounds for him. But he is a gifted rebounder, and he had 2 assists. He doesn't touch the ball very much, so for him to have 2 assists is good. He does sometimes try to drive and he gets in the lane and he kind of fumbles the ball a little bit, but I don't think his turnovers were that bad tonight. But you just can see it, and we still need to play him. He is part of our future. I'm real confident in that with his great defense. And so Stu, 31 minutes, 6 for 13. So at face value, that's pretty good. That's a little bit less than 50%. And then 3 for 5 on threes, which is fabulous. That's 60% on threes. So, but he still passes up shots. He still fumbles passes. He's turned it over 3 times, and he's 2 for 4, and he had 10 rebounds, which is good. 17 points, really good. So, but it's just a problem when you don't have Duran. He's way better when Duran's out there. And I will say this about Stu. I heard something where a guy that has a podcast, I forget who he covers the Pistons for, but he went to the Cruise practices and he interviewed some of the guys there, and they ask. So the Cruise and the Pistons play in the same facilities. The Cruise comes in earlier in the morning and practices, and then the Pistons come in afterwards. So they ask this writer or this podcaster asked who are the leaders, who are the guys that really impressed you, and they said Stu. And Monty said Stu's a real leader from day one, and obviously he is with his work ethic. And it's not just his work ethic. I said at the open practice it was obvious that Stu connects people and tries to do things, and so does Cade. And Cade's a tremendous leader. But Cade played 38 minutes. He's playing a lot of minutes. Monty's talked about it, his usage, but he thinks he can handle it. But it's getting to him, and the pressure of getting doubled and those zone defenses. And like I said, there's a wall as soon as he gets the ball because they don't have to guard the other people. It's a real thing. Again, some things are excuses and some things aren't. But he has to do better. Even in spite of that, he still has to do better. And cut down his turnovers. He had one turnover tonight, but he still needs to try to keep it down to 4 or 3. So he was 4 for 15, which is bad. He missed all of his first shots. He got off to a bad start. Usually he can come back 0 for 5 on threes, but he's been like 0 for 6, 1 for 6, 0 for 5 on threes the last bunch of games. And he's not going to be the great player. He's not going to lead us to a championship if he's that player. But again, I just can't reiterate it enough times that we just have to see, if Bojan and Burks are out there, or Monty Morris that can shoot, or he plays more with Sasser, and if all the time he needs 2 good shooters on the court. That's just what has to happen. There has to be 2, and we don't have 2 shooters. We don't have 1 shooter out there in the starting lineup, and our starting lineup struggles. So he had 3 rebounds, only 5 assists. That's a low number for him, but again, only 1 turnover, 2 block shots, which was good, but 10 points, in 38 minutes. But it is really hard for him to get shots even. And like I said, he can't get to his spots because his spots are all filled. There's all defenders everywhere he goes. Killian played only 25 minutes, and some nights he played 39 minutes, but he was 3 for 8, which isn't awful for him. 1 for 3 on threes, which is better than his career shooting percentage. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 points. Knox, Kevin Knox. We had him before, and we let him go. He was part for the money, to make the money work. He was part of the trade that we got Weissman in, and we shipped him, and he ended up going to Portland. At the end of the year, they were tanking, so they had all their good players resting. He had some big games for Portland, but they got a bunch of players in trade. When they were in the Lillard things, when they traded players for Lillard, then they traded the players they got for Lillard for more players, and usually they were taking in more players than they were sending out, and so they didn't have any space for Kevin, but he lit it up today, and he was open a lot, but he played 24 minutes, 7 for 8 from the floor. He missed 1 shot, 4 for 5 on threes, which is crazy, and 3 rebounds. Monty said afterwards that he thought that he played good defense, and imagine what it would have been without him and Burks tonight. Our offense struggled so bad, even with those 2 guys. But if we wouldn't have had Knox and Burks, we would have been really in trouble. Weissman, he didn't look great. He was 3 for 6, which is a good percentage. He had 2 rebounds and 2 blocks in only 14 minutes, which those are good stats. But he got handled a little bit by Andre Drummond. But shout out to Andre Drummond. Last week, he became one of the, I know it's less than 10 players that has 10,000 career rebounds, and he killed us tonight. He played only like 12 or 13 minutes. I sure wrote it down, but he had like a rebound per minute played, and he made most of all of his shots, real high percentage. And so he's played limited minutes, but he really produced for them, and it really was a hard matchup for Weissman. Even though, like I said, he had 2 blocks and just that few minutes and 2 rebounds and was 3 for 6 shooting. But Monty just wants him to play hard. Monty made a comment about that again yesterday or today, and he said that all he wants him to do is play hard and go from there. So Ivey, 11 minutes, 2 for 4, 2 for 2 from free throws, and 2 assists, and 1 turnover and 6 points. So did he play only 11 minutes because he's coming back from a virus? That probably was a factor, but then also, again, it is going to be impossible for Monty no matter what he does. Some players are going to get shortchanged, and some players that you think have earned minutes. Sasser, we feel like he's earned minutes. Burks, obviously, he's been great all season, and he's the veteran that we need. And Ivey, he's, I hope, part of our future. And, he's just got to hardly play, and he's only playing 20 minutes. So somebody's going to get cut once Monte Morris comes back, and once Bogie comes back. And Monty also commented that, Asar wouldn't have got to play probably as much as he's got to play had Bojan been healthy. And so, again, it's been frustrating. I don't blame all of you for being really, really frustrated. But we had, I don't think we would have found out that Sasser can play if it weren't for all the injuries. I'm not sure we would have found out that Killian's as good as he might be. And again, my thing with Killian still is I'm happy for him. I want him to keep doing good, but it is challenging because he's a non-scorer. He doesn't take the ball to the basket ever, and his 3-year shooting percentage is, one of the worst in league history. So, but maybe he can, like you said, his percentages have been solid the last 5 games or so. So one thing I want to say, tonight was really disappointing. We were bad and we struggled, and there are a lot of reasons for that. And again, just all these games, if just Duran plays when he's been sitting out or missing, or again not been even healthy, that we're not the same team. But we did lead the Bucks by 10 points midway through the fourth quarter, and again we just wore down, and they just played that zone, and then we led the Warriors. They had all their players, and we were up by 5 early in the fourth quarter on the Warriors, and they had Steph and Clay and Draymond and Looney and Wiggins. They had all of them, and we were right in there with them, and we had all those injuries still, and we led the Blazers by 15. That's one of the biggest regretful games that we should have won. But again, down the stretch, if maybe Ivey was in there, if maybe we had some more of our scores, because we couldn't score down the stretch. And again, I think sometimes Cade tries to put too much on his shoulders, but I don't fault him for trying to win, but he was not good at the end of that game. The 76ers, they are like one of the best teams in the league. They won again tonight. They beat the Pacers, who are off to a great start, and they beat the Pacers, and Maxey had 50, and he's one of the youngest players ever to score 50. But we were up by 15 with 3 minutes to go in that game, and in the second quarter, 3 minutes, and then Cade got his third foul, and he had to sit out, and so then we didn't score. We had, we've had games where I said 16-minute went on 16-0 runs teams have had where we don't score for 4 minutes, and when he gets in foul trouble, so he does need to stop getting in foul trouble also. We had 16 turnovers. We had 10 in the first half, and those were killer, and they scored a whole bunch of points off our turnovers, which we were the worst at that. Teams just score out. We do all those turnovers, and we've given up more points off turnovers than any team in the league. Our bench scored 51 points, and that, I guess, is one more reason to say that we need to change our starters. DeRozan had 29, Vukovic had 21, and Levine had 19 only this time. We play the Hawks on Tuesday, and they are playing really well, and they're a real good team. Shout out to our Detroit Lions, kicked the field goal at the buzzer, and that was an exciting win. It was nerve-wracking. I thought we had it. I felt like the Lions really outplayed them, but then we didn't score a couple times when we're always going to go for it on fourth down. If it's 4th and 50, I think he's going to go for it, but I don't know. Anyway, they're having a great season, and I'm hoping the Pistons can turn their season around real fast. And again, the schedule is tough. All the teams are tough. I just want everybody to get healthy. I want everybody to stay patient. I want us to have fun. Tonight was not fun. I look forward every game. I look so much forward to watching every game. And then again, when Cade struggles like this and our team struggles, but there's things that can be made, moves that can be made, and we'll see if Monty makes any moves. I hope he does. But we're again, thank you for subscribing. Thank you very, very much, and be the reason that somebody feels cared for and heard and appreciated. And let's go Pistons. Let's beat those Hawks.